This episode is called Do I Agree with Corny? So who is Corny? Well, for those that don't know, this is Corny, Jim Cornette, the man from Louisville, Kentucky, who broke into pro wrestling as a ringside photographer. He caught the attention of Christine Jarrett, that's Jeff Jarrett's grandmother, and she was a legendary promoter who was affectionately known as Teeny. And she gave Jim a job as a ringside announcer and as a manager. And he became famous for managing such legendary wrestling entities such as the Midnight Express, the Heavenly Bodies, and Yokozuna, amongst others. He has worked for the WWF, WWE, NWA, and its reincarnation WCW. He also worked for TNA, Ring of Honor, and MLW during their formative years. He ran two regional promotions of his own, SMW and OVW. It was OVW that was the developmental region for WWE, being a co-owner with the OG owner and longtime friend, Nightmare Denny Davis. No, not that Denny Davis. It was also the developmental region that thrust future legends such as Randy Orton, Brock Lesnar, John Cena, and a whole host of others into the WWE. These days, Corny is best known for his two hugely successful podcasts, the Jim Cornette Drive-Thru and the Jim Cornette Experience we host with the great Brian Last. What will I be agreeing or disagreeing with Jim? Well, stick around and find out during the main event. G'day, wrestling mates. This is episode 64 of If You See Kayfabe. I'm Southern Joe, your wrestling mate from down under. Now, some small pieces of housekeeping before we move on. Now, I know the last time we got together, I introduced a new logo for this show. Now, I'm always trying to find ways of making the show more appealing. Hope you like the newest and probably permanent logo, which you see now. When I showed my wife this logo, we both said almost in unison, that's it. So if you have a comment about the logo or anything else, you know where to go in the comment section. Also, share this show with all your wrestling mates and subscribe, and especially hit the notification bell, especially since I don't have a fully regimented schedule at this time. The other piece of housekeeping is a bit of accidental misinformation on my part. As this episode is recorded, we're heading to Alpha Pro's newest show, Purpose, which will be at Sunbury's Memorial Hall this Saturday here in Melbourne. The mistake here is that I said Crackerjack would be on this show on the 22nd. He will not. It's the 21st, sorry. He will, however, be at Battle Championship Wrestling's BCW 68. I'll be at that show to see Rob Van Dam, probably for the last time ever in the ring. Lastly, some folk here have claimed that AEW programming can't be seen in Australia anymore. Nah, that's bulldust. It's on ESPN, so if you can watch it on the KO or Disney Plus apps. In fact, AEW has its own circle to make it easier to find. Now, coming up, we find out how much I agree with Cornette. I've heard many of his reviews on current AEW and WWE shows. Now, he is mainly dismissive of the modern wrestling, especially the flippy stuff. For me, as long as it's not a death match for cheap pops, I like a contest where the participants look like they're trying to win and not just hit moves and chase star ratings. So here's our differences. Apart from the fact that Jim's American and I'm Australian, well, Jim is a 64-year-old lifelong fan who has made an incredible career within pro wrestling as a photographer, manager, historian, promoter, booker, creative consultant, author, and of course, podcaster. Me, Southern Joe, I've just turned 62. Also a lifelong wrestling fan. I've now been on YouTube as a host for 2.5 years. Firstly, as the Australian correspondent for a show called Falling Through the Ropes, a UK based project that didn't quite work out. And of course, my own show, which was originally titled The Southern Joe Wrestling Show, but now under the infinitely better title, If You See Kayfabe. I've also penned some articles for pwdownunder.com, an Australian-based wrestling mag. So I've not got quite the reputation Jim has, but I've got the age nearly up on him.
Hi, it's everyone's favorite clown, 211 or inmate 211 on If You See Kayfabe. I prefer calling it Kayfabe because Kayfabe just, Kayfabe. It's amazing. Everyone loves me here, you know. I got the headbutts, I got the mixed personality. It's great. I'm having so much fun.
So I chose to review the 2026 helping of AEW's Grand Slam Australia. It was an event held in my hometown of Sydney, Australia. Now, I've lived in Melbourne since 1990. Grand Slam was on Saturday night, February 14, 2026. It was held at Kudos Bank Arena, a 22,000-seat venue that is also the home court for my beloved Sydney Kings, that champion basketball team in our NBL here in Australia. The crowd seemed like a decent size, and figures of about 7,000 plus were bandied around. Not bad for a secondary wrestling company, and also pretty good in that Sydney-siders don't go out to events as much as Melburnians do. Now, the first bout was John Moxley taking on Kanusuka Takeshita for the AEW Continental title. This is the final of the tournament where no outside interference is allowed. Now, I agree with Jim on this one when he says that if this stipulation can be done here, why not for all matches? It even defies wrestling logic. Now, what Mox was being a Timu Stone Cold in that he was swinging his beer and throwing half-full cans into the crowd. Now, no self-respecting Aussie would ever waste beer. The "this is awesome" chants went up early for this one, but it was more fitting of a "this is okay" chant. Now, a fierce exchange of chops between the two of them ended with Take waiting for an extra long time to receive his shot from Mox. There's slow and there's too slow. I noticed throughout the commentary that Tony Schiavone was taking more of a lead role in the play-by-play, and Excalibur was almost a colour commentator for this event. Now, there was a curb stomp by Mox on the apron at one stage. It looked vicious, but was pretty safe. Being a continental tournament match, even being a final, there was a 20-minute time limit. And as I was watching this, I could sense that this would indeed be a Broadway. Now, Broadway is a draw for you, Marks. Now, Mox seemed to have cut himself a little in this match, but I couldn't tell if it was a hard way or if he employed just a little bit of magic. Either way, when it was the 1 minute to go announcement, that was what finally seemed to get the crowd really going for this match. The match went to a soft draw, and Mox was remonstrating with the ref off mic, and there was a tease that Mox would do a classic babyface move and say, "Oh, he wants a decisive winner." But they just came to blows, and Take put Mox down with his Raging Fire move. Now, there was a video package highlighting how we came to match 7 of the epic feud between Kyle and, what's that other guy's name? Briscoe, yeah. There was a women's tag match, then a video package, and then a match to who would decide who would get the world title match at the Revolution pay-per-view. So then Hangman Adam Page and Andrade El Idolo was in this crucial bout to decide who would get the title shot. Andrade came to ringside with Don Callis, who must have the biggest stable in wrestling history, and Callis went straight to the commentary desk. Now, the obligatory glamorous girl in the crowd came along, distracting Paige, and then a pic with Andrade, and all the fluff with that was just there, nothing else. The finish started when Paige set up for a buckshot lariat, so Callis got on the apron to distract the referee. When Andrade tried to counter with a low blow, Paige was ready for it and hit a low blow of his own. Paige went back to the apron for the buckshot lariat and connected 1, 2, 3. Paige wins, and he's got the AEW World Title shot on March 15 at AEW Revolution, which is apparently going to be in Los Angeles. The match was okay, not horrible, but not something that was memorable. There was a mixed tag match where Orange Cassidy, a guy that Jim really dislikes, and he teamed up with Aussie star Timeless Tony Storm to take on Marina Shafir and Wheeler Yuta from the Death Riders. I had no interest in this, but Yuta was counting the lights and he got his head shaved. He was trying to get out of the stipulation, but even his leader, John Moxley, was sending him back to take his medicine. Now, could there be a future angle in that? We'll see. Now, the match of the night was the brutal ladder match between Sydney's own Kyle Fletcher and Mark Briscoe for Kyle's TNT strap. Some of their truly hard shots really got the crowd fired up. This match made sense. It was a proper, brutal contest. It ebbed and flowed. I noticed where Briscoe bladed, the TV crew did just enough to cover it up. I'd say the smartest fans close enough to the action in the arena would have caught it as well. But so please leave your comment if you agree with me on this point or not and what you thought of the match. I cracked up when Briscoe bit Cole's head and shouted, tastes like shrimp on the barbie. There were some more brutal moves, and Cole got busted open as well, possibly hard way, but they put in a proper shift. The ending was set up when Kyle just heaved Briscoe over one side of the ladder to the other with a super brainbuster. Both men are down, and the crowd stunned. Fletcher was up first and slowly climbed, and as Briscoe grabbed another ladder to set up next to Fletcher, both men fought from their respective ladders until Fletcher kicked Briscoe off his ladder onto the mat, and that gave Fletcher the opening to finish his climb, and he grabbed the TNT belt for the win. Kyle retains the TNT title in his hometown of Sydney. Now, that's good booking, AEW. Good use of a recap package of how MJF versus Brody King came into being, obviously while the ladders and stuff were cleaned up from around the ring. Then, just like that, it was the main event. Now, this show felt it flew by. It didn't drag on. A note for Shivani, though. Our beach is pronounced Bondi, not Bondi. Bondi is how you pronounce your Attorney General. MJF is the most entertaining and gifted heel since Rowdy Roddy Piper. He knows how and when to sell. He knows how to roll the crowd. Now, this was especially when he telegraphed doing the kangaroo kick and then performing it. Brody gave a decent showing of himself, but he is better as a tag wrestler. He's not really a main eventer. Good on him for seizing his opportunity, though. There didn't seem to be a bleeping of profanity. Now, while the F-bomb wasn't dropped, there was the next level down that clearly made it to air. Towards the end, Bandito, who was Brody's tag partner in the coolly named Brodito team, came down to ringside to lend moral support. And towards the end, MJF pulled out his diamond ring, but the ref saw it and took it off him. In the end, MJF got a clean 3 count, and not by nefarious means, which would have given him more heat. Now, as MJ basked in the glory of his retaining his title, Hangman Adam Page came down to the ring. He had a contract and pen in hand. He went nose to nose with MJF, signed the contract, and then dropped it near Max. He made out like he was going to punch MJF, and then Max dropped to the mat. I was okay with this card. The ladder match was my fave, followed by the main event. Now, please leave your comments below and like, subscribe, and share this show with all of your wrestling mates. Now, while you're waiting for new content, have a look at this interview I did with Kevin Kelly.